Hey, welcome everyone. Welcome. What's up, jerks? Having a great weekend. Working. Bringing your shows at night. This time early 6 p.m. I'm trying to bring everyone in tonight. Try to get as many guests as we can tonight because we have been focusing heavily on our attorney Mark Betterow, and we blew him up. I feel like, and now he's going on to like bigger shows, which is awesome. We love it. He's still going to be coming on the show, but and there was a little break in the trial, and so even this week we're only gonna have 3 trial days. So I'm trying to bring in as many new guests tonight and returning guests. People have been on the show in the past. It's like a panel on the Karen Reed tonight, and we already have 2 standing by. We're gonna have a major attorney on the show tonight who also has a huge following. So this and maybe I think Olivia Lambo later on the show. This show is going to be amazing tonight, I think. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. We got 2 people in the green room. Let's kick it off with them. I'm excited. This is going to be fun tonight. A first-time guest. He's got a podcast, a YouTube channel. He's over there in Denmark. He's Danish in Denmark. And this was I've seen some, like, back in the day, he was one of the early supporters of Free Karen Reed. Definitely. I would say the first international one too, it seems like, that I knew of. And he's been covering this for a while. And he was recommended specifically. We work word of mouth. So if you like somebody and you want to see them on the show, head us up and let us know. This came from MJ, who's one of our main moderator in the YouTube chat. And she said, you got to get the Broken Baker on. So without further ado, we're going to bring up Baker first. What's up, Baker?
Oh, nothing much. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for the nice words. Yeah, we've been some of the OGs on this case. It's been amazing, especially because the whole network around this, people coming in and saying, "Oh, did you see that on the Clara? Did you see that on the Young Jerks?" People are so invested in this. It's super fun to be a part of.
Yeah, it's nice to have a little break too on the day-to-day covering of it and be able to
No,
reach out to each other. I see a lot of shows now doing, like tonight, Turtle Boy's got like 3 guests on tonight, which is, you don't see that a lot. It's exciting right now, I think.
yeah, I like doing the weekends, but oh my God, 5 weeks, 18 days. You have to be a
Crazy.
government worker to get paid for that.
Right? I mean, it's just it's a long trial. We're not even halfway through. Well, I guess we're halfway through the prosecution, but we're not halfway through the trial yet.
No, and imagine, well, Bev is going to tell the defense, please speed it up. But what if anything, questions about your dog, your shoe size, the weather, the live band are very important. So Lally can ask that of everyone.
Yeah.
Oh
And
my God.
how did you get onto this? Because you're in Denmark. I'm wondering how you were such an early OG on this, because I saw you with Tom way back in the day. You've been covering this the whole time. So how did you get onto Karen Reed in Denmark?
Well, I saw the famous picture of the arm, and I said, "What?" And I have my lovely co-host Jamie, and I said, "We have a couple days off. Let's try and watch this hearing." And we watched the first 2 hearings, and when I saw the blunt force trauma lacerations, I said, "I've been doing layman duty in Denmark, which is our jury system. Been doing that for 13 years. I have seen more than one person been struck by a car. I've never seen a person being struck by a 6,000-pound object by 24.2 miles per hour. Very specific, so the security system doesn't kick in, and have absolutely no fractures other than the
Yeah.
skull. And that's when I started saying, this just doesn't add up. And then I got on, saw a bit of Aiden, had a talk with him, talk with Tom. And the more hearings you saw, the more you were sitting here thinking, what happened? And that's why I got it, because normally I just cover cases. I'm a little fish in all of this live trial community. I find a trial that's a week, 2 weeks, I think could be interesting, and then I cover that. But this case, it's the only one I've been following for a year because things just doesn't add up when you. And I love all the trolls coming in and saying, "We know Chloe is in Vermont." I had a guy said, I have a PI. I can send him. You just tell me. I'll pay for it. They never say yes. And all the people on Twitter saying, "Yeah, you should debate someone." Said, I would love to debate anyone, but will only debate what's been proven, not proven, but what's been put into to the evidence. Because I don't care about how you feel about Turtle Boy.
Right.
I care about Karen Reed's case.
Yeah.
I care about justice.
I love that you went back to that car crash because that just it's not. I look like I took a break because the trolls got to me, and I had like when Turtle Boy got arrested, I had like a mental health break. I lost my shit. I really did. I didn't know. I thought they were coming for me next, and the trolls started invading, like getting in my mind, trying to be my friends, and they had me start doubting the whole thing. So I shut everything down for a few weeks and I just thought about everything and I just kept going back to what you said. There's no way that body got damaged by that car. And the car and the body don't show it. There's nothing there in the body or the car that shows the accident that they're claiming.
Yeah, and
that's
it. That's the thing being a streamer. Sometimes people get to you because they say something and you only see that one. You have how many right now? 1,000 people watching us. If one of them said, "Oh, you look fat today," that's what you remember. You don't remember that Courtney Reagan said, "Awesome panel, love Broken Baker. He cracks me up." If someone said, "Well, I don't care about being fat. I call myself that the entire time." But someone tried to hit me with that in chat. I was like, "Have you seen my show? I call myself fat every show." It's not like. But again, I've been in politics for 20 years, so most things just it's water off a goose. It's
that's the way I'm usually at too, because I've been involved in that stuff too for a long time. But this was different, This is like the pressure of this for me,
yeah,
and just not like.
But you're close to
when
it,
you
right?
start to doubt this, that Karen Reed's, guilty or innocent. When you start to, that's where I was at. And when I just sat down, and the thing that was getting to me is they kept saying that it was a cult, that I was doing it for the money, that I was doing it for the clicks, that I was doing it for the attention. So I said, you know what? Let's take a break and shut that down for 2 weeks. And when I did, I couldn't go. The only thing I could go back to, when you remove all that noise on both sides, right? You go back to the facts. And the facts is that car did not cause the damage on John's body. It's just so obvious looking at the car and the body, and I don't see how the prosecution gets around that.
Well, they do that by saying, what if anything happened when you turned the corner? Who, if anyone, drove the ambulance? I don't know. You haven't really done trial stuff before. I don't know if you know the study saying you can only follow along for 45 minutes, then you'll lose your concentration. Lally never hits any hard facts until at least 30 minutes into his questioning. And I'm sitting here thinking, because I don't know if you saw that clip from Aussie Insider the other day, where I just lost it after day 18. Just what is happening? Because this has nothing to do with proving a hit and run. A hit and run is a simple case. Exactly. She got angry. She bumped him with the car, drove off. She was blind drunk. That takes a week. I had a case that was very similar called Lori Ann Phillips in somewhere in the Midwest. Drove over her husband, crossed his chest cavity. Well, she never got found guilty in it. Everything was the same. He was found outside in a snowbank. Everything was the same. She was found not guilty because they couldn't really say the car, and they had cloth fiber from his pants on her undercarriage. That took, I think it took 7 days in court. This has taken 18 days. I know more about Brian Higgins' pickup lines than I know about what happened to John O'Keefe.
Exactly. That's a good point. We got a couple people in the green room I want to bring up. The first one is Brian is an attorney. He's a state attorney in Massachusetts. He recently sent a letter to the Canton the Canton Select Board about Chief Rafferty.
Well, actually, it was an email.
An email.
It was an email.
What did I say? Message?
It wasn't a letter. I wouldn't have taken the time to put it on letterhead. They weren't worthy enough for that. And there's Rita's. Okay.
Hey! We got Rita Lombardi at a party today. So she's definitely going to be wanting to hear about this.
Listen,
too.
I'm at a Karen Reed party. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this amazing people. We've got the lake here. Look at that.
Oh, you're killing me.
Look at this.
What am I missing out on?
Woo-hoo!
We see dogs. You got dogs there.
Okay, I'm up here on the porch. Listen, I got new earrings. What do you think of my earrings?
They look great. Rita.
Don't they look great? Red
Rita is having the time of her life right now.
And I don't drink.
And so we want to talk about the Board of Select Board that you have been emailing. And we have Brian here as well. He was about to tell us about the email he sent out.
Awesome.
Well, Rita, you got a copy of it, right?
I did.
Forwarded it.
Yes. Oh, somebody likes the earrings. I love the earrings. The Board of Select. There's quite a bit of emails that they have received. And thank you so much, Mike. So we need people to send emails and expressing their thoughts on whether or not the Chief Rafferty's contract should be renewed. And it is the contract expires June 30th of this year, so a month. And if it's not renewed, they're supposed to give her 30-day notice. But if they don't give her 30-day notice, then she gets the golden parachute. So, we want people to express their opinions, because this not only affects the town of Canton, this affects anybody who might want to go to Canton, shop in Canton. This impacts everybody. So everybody's opinion matters, whether you're from Canton or not. We want people to be heard and our feedback to be considered. And we also want to collaborate with the select board on this very important decision. So that's what we're hoping for, is that we can collaborate with them. And if Chief Rafferty thinks that her contract should be renewed, I think that we as citizens should be able to have that discussion with her and find out why she thinks it should be renewed. Because it's very hard to agree to renew the contract under the current circumstances, in my opinion.
And anyone, Canton residents, definitely you want to email this email that we have on the screen right here. But anyone can also email them, right? Yeah.
People from other countries have emailed them. They're chiming in on this. So anybody, please don't think you have to be from Canton. This is your voice. This is your ability to let law enforcement know whether or not you agree with, what they're doing or not. I mean, this impacts everybody. It's not just Canton. So please, you don't have to be from Canton. And people have copied me or they posted some of this stuff too. People have wrote incredibly thoughtful comments on why the contract should not be renewed. And that's what is beautiful about this. People are not just saying don't renew it and and that's it. People are giving very good specific feedback on where the failures have been. And that is going to help all of us, because the failures in Canton are not just in Canton. There are other places too. It's selective adherence to policies and procedures. That's, in my opinion, a very serious matter.
I didn't you know what's so funny? When you said your earrings, I had you smaller on the screen. I couldn't really see it until I see it now. You got the red. I'm going to call them the red fireball. You do fireball shots. Chris Albert could use those. Chris Albert probably needs those for the fireball shots too, though.
Yeah, so if anything happens to me, I come equipped with solo cups.
Yeah, you got red solo cups. You could also do the fireball shots in them.
Yeah, there you go.
It's a Canton collection item. It's
It is a Canton conviction item. And then we
It's,
got the rosy glasses so that, you know, if you don't want to admit to reality, we got rosy glasses.
Unbelievable. Thank you so much, Rita. You have anything else for us? Because I want to get back to Brian, because he did send a letter, an email. What I mean, we just had the select board meeting. It was crazy again, but they allowed you to speak more. You want to say anything about that
Yes.
too?
Yes. So I am really thrilled that they allowed us to speak. And I really do think that we are breaking through and we are getting collaboration. I really do think that this past meeting was a breakthrough, and tiny, but a breakthrough. And we were able to get that. I'm going to go in the house here. We were able to get them to give us time and to speak, and without a timer, and, you know, to speak freely. And they extended the time from 15 minutes to 20 minutes. And, you know, that's progress. That's progress. And we had that same progress with Bob McCarthy at the police audit meeting. So my hope is that we will continue with that kind of progress. And, you know, it's baby steps, right? It's progress, not perfection. And I really do think that we are potentially turning a corner in Canton, and, you know, citizens are being able to express themselves freely and without, you know, the chains on or them not listening to us. I really think that, you know, we've got some progress here. So that's what I want to build on. I want to build on the successes. So we have the next select board meeting, I think, is a week from Tuesday. And then the following Wednesday is the next police audit meeting. And the police audit meeting, we're going to finish out hammering the other half of the scope. And then we're going to talk about the RFP process. And, you know, we want to have sealed bids. We want to make sure that the process has integrity. And we want to make sure that we work together. I mean, and I said this at the meeting, the Canton audit meeting, you know, none of the 5 people up there have experience in sourcing a police audit firm, and none of the people in the audience do either. But if we work together, we can help get what we need to get us on track to healing. And, you know, so I'm really encouraged. I'm really encouraged by the last 2 meetings. And that's what we always wanted, was collaboration.
Thank you so much for being here tonight, Rita and Sharon. People are asking what should be in the email to the Board of Selectmen. I think we're going to have Brian kind of lay out his email, so we'll get a taste of it there. Do you have any quick pointers to people who are going to be sending emails to the Board of Selectmen about Chief Rafferty?
So people who are on the Justice page and also on the Canton Community Voices page, and if people haven't signed up for the Canton Community Voices Facebook page, please sign up and we'll let you in. People have put their thoughts in there and they have articulated them well. So, you know, just express yourself. You know, if you feel the contract should not be renewed, give your feedback. You know, why do you think the contract? Because anybody can just say no. And if you need to just say, hey, listen, don't renew it, and here's my, you know, ka-ching, go ahead, do that. But if you have the time, maybe 10 minutes or whatever, to put your thoughts together to say, you know, here's my supporting reasons for not renewing the contract. The more you put in there, you know, the more we can create, you know, we can establish a solid foundation for why we don't want the contract renewed. And, you know, there's so much going on with this community, and, you know, perception matters. So even the people who are not inside the town of Canton, perception matters. And this is the way we can help to build a better law enforcement system, because it's not just Canton. So, you know, if you feel that, you know, what she said in the August select board meeting, when she said, you know, she can look at the O'Keefe's and always know that there was no cover up. Well, obviously there is a cover up. And, you know, the Canton 9, people have put out there, the fact that the Canton 9 were arrested. That's huge. That's huge. You got Mello calling 5 times. And then finally, the Canton police acquiesced to what Mello wanted. A good leader would have stepped in and said, no, we're not doing that. And so, and then we have the performance of the highest ranking people under the chief on the stand, giving testimony of how they just kind of did whatever they felt like on that crime scene. And it's wrong. So we lack leadership. We need leadership. And whatever people feel in their hearts, that's what I ask them to put in to them.
We get a lot of good comments about this. Microdot said it, and she covered up her own car accident. So there's a lot to that you can include. A lot of reasons you can include in the email. I guess the last question for you, Rita, tonight. I'll let you get back to the party and everyone. Yeah. But have you heard anything? People are asking, is anything going on with Rafferty? Like, have you heard any rumors? Any feedback on? Are they considering it? Are they going forward with the contract? I mean, the deadline passed, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, for the 30-day notice. So there is discussion. That's fabulous. I'm going to actually send an email to the select board and to Charlie Duty, the town administrator. I'm going to send that either tonight or tomorrow morning, reiterating, we want to collaborate. We want to collaborate. And I did see the select board today, all except for Chris Albert. I didn't see him. There was a pride celebration in Canton at the Unitarian Church. And I went to that. I did see the select board, and Chief Rafferty was there. And Mike Lank was there too. But Chief Rafferty was there. I did say hello to her. And when I left, I shook her hand. And, I mean, this is a serious matter. This is a very serious matter. We have a police chief, and I'm advocating for not renewing her job, her contract. So it's nothing personal. It's just what we have experienced. And I felt bad because, when I shook her hand when I was leaving, look, she's a woman, I'm a woman, and, but we haven't seen leadership. We haven't seen it. And that's why we are where we are. So my hope is that we can get collaboration and begin to work together and make things better in the town. But we need the support of everybody who has been on this journey with us to help us by communicating, their thoughts on the matter. Are you guys still there?
You're muted.
Oh, sorry. Do you have any feedback or comments back for a reader right now, Brian or Baker?
I'll go. Rita, I CC'd Helena on my email. Would you suggest that everybody do that?
You know what? Why not? Why not? Why not? Because then she's going to get it. I'm sure that the select board is going to give it to her, but yeah, why not? Why not? Let her see what people are saying. Let her see the feedback. So I think that's a great idea. And we can put up her email address so that they can CC her on it. And if people aren't comfortable, then just do the BOS. But, any, person in a job needs feedback. And it's been a tough 2.5 years, and we have not had leadership, and that is what we're lacking. So, yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Excellent.
So her email address, if you go to the left of the is hrafferty@town.canton.ma.us. It's not a hard thing to remember.
Okay. So, and maybe Mike can put it up there too, but definitely the BOS. And I'm sure they're collecting the information. And there has been a lot of people who have asked to keep her on. Of course, you know who they are. And so, we need to come in strong with feedback, constructive feedback. And for however we go forward, we need that feedback, and she needs that feedback.
Well, good luck. Good luck to you. We'll be covering everything and wishing you the best on this. And hopefully she starts following the feedback, even if she keeps her job, right?
Exactly. And so, my hope is that we're able to collaborate together, the citizens that, attend the meetings, the select board, Charlie, and maybe even Helena, collaborate together to address these issues and, make the best decision for the town.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rita
All
Lombardi.
right.
Have fun at
Thank
the
you.
party.
Thank you. It was so great to be with you. And yeah, red solo cups.
Red solo cups. Have fun.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a
Don't
good
do
one.
any.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're not drinking. No fireball
I don't
shots.
drink.
There we go.
All right.
You'll stay out of trouble. That was Rita Lombardi. Wow. Brian, you sent an email about this. Tell us about your email. What was in your email?
Yeah. Did it ever get through to you?
No.
No. Okay. I just even sent it a few minutes ago. Is there a way for me to share my screen?
Do you see it on the
I
bottom
don't see
right?
anything on the bottom.
Then it's not there.
Okay.
Unless you
All
see
right.
it.
So I just, what I bring to this case, I think, I don't have the time that Olivia has to research things. What I try to bring here is sarcasm. So I started out writing a sarcastic email, and then I toned it down and I flipped it around and made it sound like it wasn't sarcastic. But I asked, first of all, wasn't the original police report later changed to include a photo of the large taillight piece that had been found in the PM search? And didn't that change report include new cell phone numbers for the two butt dialing Brians? I didn't call them that in the email. Wasn't Helena in charge both when the first report was issued and when the new report was came out? Has the Canton Select Board investigated who changed the 1/29/22 police report? So that was the first thing, the first point I made. Then I happen to know a little behind the scenes of something that happened at Chief Berkowitz's retirement party. I think even the defense brought it up, right? They brought up the fact that Brian Higgins had spoken, and he had said something like, "If you ever want to get rid of a body, Berkey is your man," something like that. Well, Helena texted somebody to cut that out of the video. And did you ever get the original video from anyone, Mike? I think you were asking for it the other day.
Nobody's ever sent me that piece of video. I mean, it's clearly what was broadcast removed Higgins. It's so obvious because you see them when somebody thanks Higgins from the stage for co-hosting the event, the camera goes to his table. So whoever was recording knew who he was there. Why wasn't he on stage? I mean, he obviously had to have been on stage. He admitted it. He admitted he was on stage. He denied he said that though, which is so it's very curious. And that's what we're hearing. The rumor. I think you may know more than me about it. Like,
so
what do you know about this, Brian?
Well,
what have you confirmed?
I sent a FOIA request about it. But in my email to the select board from yesterday, I said, didn't she send a text message on 7/15/22 requesting that the Brian Higgins?
So how do you know the date? How do you know that it happened on 7/15? You know more than me. How do you know this?
I'm
pinning you down.
Okay. So there is a group that's behind the scenes that meets almost every Sunday at 10. It's called the Canton Accountability Project, and you're going to find out more about it later. And two of us, Rita sent the same email, the same FOIA request that I did, and it's known who she sent it to. But What I got back was it's part of the Karen Reed case, so we can't release it.
Wow.
Yeah,
I wonder
actually,
if
I
the,
think I might
I
have
wonder if the defense has that, huh?
well, I mean,
They brought it up. They must have said
I'm pretty
something.
sure I forwarded the FOIA response to them.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they have played that clip if they had the original video then? If they had it.
I know.
If they had the clip.
Well, but they
it's
may
funny
not
how
have it.
things disappear
they-
in the Canton Triangle.
Yeah.
4 minutes here, 4 minutes there.
Right.
It happens.
So the FOIA response, the denial of we're not giving it to you, said the information you are requesting is part of an ongoing investigation involving the Karen Reed trial and is therefore exempt from public disclosure. So they acknowledged it. That it's part of it's involved in the case. So I brought it up. I don't know if FOIA requests get before the select board in any way. So I wanted to make sure that I put it out there. And I asked the question, couldn't Helena's actions there be viewed as intentional destruction of evidence? Has the Canton Select Board investigated this matter? No, I'm just asking questions. Maybe it's a little snarky, because I know can be pretty sure that they're not investigating it, but they should be. So then I asked, wasn't Helena in charge when we saw that paper bag of solo cups of blood not logged into evidence and sitting near the car? Has the Canton Select Board investigated that? Didn't a cell phone containing crime scene photos get lost with its contents not backed up for preservation in any way? Has the Select Board investigated that? So I ended, wasn't Helena Rafferty in charge during all of these events? This is who you would want to remain in charge of law enforcement in your town? People like me from other towns are watching and shaking our heads. Credibility lost is not easily regained. So that's pretty. Now, Peter Murphy got a copy of this, and then he responded to them from mine, and he pointed out some things that I hadn't even thought of. And Sean McDonough had sent an email or a letter to Rafferty very early on in the process, asking many things and never got a response. And he in his email he summarized all of these things. But I think maybe somebody should get the letter that was sent to Rafferty and send it into the select board to put into the Rafferty file. And since yesterday, I've thought of two more that I probably should just bang out another email. Has that video gap ever been investigated? What caused it? Shouldn't it at least be investigated? Shouldn't the public know what happened there? That seems awfully fishy. As I'm speaking, I'm thinking, what about that library video gap? Shouldn't that have been investigated by the police? And then one thing that's really sort of tangential, there was the egg throwing incident where somebody threw an egg at a kid, and then there were charges filed. And Helena Rafferty apparently didn't notify the person about how the system works and that there was going to be a hearing. How would you, as just a regular citizen, know that there's going to be a clerk magistrate hearing, when it's going to be, how to find it on, if in the court system? Shouldn't that be something that a police chief does automatically?
Don't they file a notice? You have to be at this room at this hour at this.
I would think they were supposed to.
Because when we do it in Denmark, if a witness doesn't show up, we have every Dane has we call it e-box, where you get your mail from the government. So they can go in and see it's been served on this day and they open it on this day. So we know, okay, they voluntarily didn't show up in court, or they never opened the email. Because if they don't open the email, don't know that they have to be there, you can't really hold them in contempt of anything.
So the charges in that case got dropped.
Because the witness didn't show up and didn't know about it.
And then she didn't refile. I mean, she could have asked for, she could have done something more. I mean, obviously she didn't care. And she was just going through the motions.
Sounds
So,
like a
yeah, so
show going through the
Mindy's
motions.
saying there would have been something sent in the mail by the court. But, you know, depending on the timing, maybe it didn't get there in time.
Yeah, maybe they put 246 instead of 642. It happens. It's a clerical error.
All right, so that's the extent of my involvement there, Mike. But I think people should. I don't like talking about Helena Rafferty behind her back. I don't know anything about this person, you know, and so I think if somebody's going to send an email in to the select board, that they really should consider CCing her. Maybe she'll respond.
And you can find it. It's hrafferty at town.canton.ma.us.
Right.
Have you heard? When did you send your email?
Yesterday.
You hear anything back?
Around noon? No response.
No response. Not from any select board member.
I sent it out of Outlook, and I didn't ask for any kind of read receipt or delivery receipt, and I probably should have, but it didn't bounce.
Interesting. I wonder if they're going to respond to any of them.
Probably get a standard response. Thank you for your submission.
Or have a discussion about it.
Well, don't they have a new clerk on the select board? Maybe that's the person in charge of the responses.
Chris Albert.
Yeah.
And yeah. How? No, everyone knows this. Everyone should have said, "Well, I'm way too invested in this. I have to step away from all of this. I can't handle anything to do with that," which was what normal people would do. But in this case, everyone who's connected just runs closer to the case. I've never ever seen so many people being tainted and then claiming, "Oh, we didn't know anything." Well, you're sitting next to him there. You're sitting holding her in a hot tub. You used to date this person, and everyone is, yeah, well, we kind of knew each other, but you were grabbing Bri-Bri's butt in a bar. And Bri-Bri just called you someone he hardly knew, and you called him your best friend. This case is all the craziness.
It's hard to explain to, like, because it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Do you alter, like, both of you guys, do you feel like more people are catching on to what's going on right now?
I think the hatred against Karen Reed isn't hatred against Karen Reed. You see, I do the hashtag Karen Reed on Twitter every day just to see what's out there, because I sleep when all you guys stream. And I see some people, they are just either willfully ignorant about what the facts are in the case, or they're just trolling, because it's, well, she angrily struck him with the car, or it was an accident when she hit him. Well, then they shouldn't have upped the charges. They haven't seen anything. They just don't like Turtle Boy. Is my take on 80% of the people against Karen Reed.
And do you feel like average people are starting to pick up on it? Like I feel like a lot more people in the last month have kind of picked up on this case, and they've been like, they weren't sure, and now they're leaning towards Karen Reed's innocent. Like, do you see that too? I
never seen so many people say what is going on after 18 days in court. They are sitting there thinking, how did he pass away? How did 8 EMTs and doctors not see he had a big gash in the back of his head? What's that with Chloe? Why is everyone lying about how they know each other? I think the straw that broke the camel's back was Jen McCabe's, "If I can just read my testimony, I can tell you what I said."
Yeah.
I remember it clear as day. She said it. You never said that before, but I remember it today. I think a lot of people saw that. I shouldn't say personal things, but that horse-faced woman lying through her crooked teeth.
The demeanor too. The demeanor of her.
Yeah.
She's just so nasty.
as I said in one of my videos, why is Lally putting on such a great defense for Karen Reed?
Yeah.
All his
Seriously.
witnesses suck.
Well,
Yeah, he
Jen-
expected like he was going to put down. We're going to put down this conspiracy at the beginning, and then we're going to show the real evidence. That was his thing. It's like, no, all you've done is pour gasoline on what you claimed was a conspiracy theory. Now everyone thinks, wow, there's something wrong here. Like, that's what it feels like to me. What do you think, Brian? Are you seeing the same thing? What do you?
Yeah, I think a lot of my clients are noticing, are watching this, and they're kind of surprised at this. It's really the thing that people seem to talk about first is all the butt dials.
Yeah,
It's just like, it's just, if one person had said it and used it as an excuse, okay. But it's like all of this, but answering, but shutting off your phone, what's going on here? That, where is the butt dialing technology center? It must be Canton.
yeah.
So and I think some of the witnesses are giving themselves away. In the way they talk. Right at the end of Jennifer McCabe, I don't know if anyone picked up on this. She actually loudly proclaimed Karen's guilt. She said because she hit him because she knew where it was, and she was, she essentially undercut her credibility, because now you could see that she reached her own conclusion about guilt, and everything she was saying was coming from that angle.
Exactly.
But she wasn't even a very good actor.
Yeah, she does that. Like, I think so many of them pull that
The
shit.
Jen
Different ways.
Jen yelling. It was such bad acting. And I woke up, Matt McCabe, Jen, and I could just hear it, Jen. It was like when you had to do that school play back in 5th grade, and you had that one who thought he was a thespian if he just yelled loud enough. It was so bad. But
I tried acting a couple times. I gotta admit, Baker, that's me. You're describing me. I realized it quickly, though. I'm not a good actor. Because when I was a school teacher, they had us do like the faculty would do what do you call those? The dinner theater fundraiser play.
Yeah.
And they picked me to do. I was terrible. I couldn't do it. Even just for the parents, fundraising for a charity. Couldn't do it. Just bad. Like, some people just don't have it in them.
But a serious question. Can any of you remember your last butt dial? I know exactly when I did my last butt dial. It was on Times Square in 2017. Since then, all my phones have had either a fingerprint or you have to punch in a code to open it. You can't just it's not like back in the day when you had a Nokia and you accidentally hit the send button twice and it rang the last number. The last time I figured out that was a guy, actually a Danish police officer, I called when I was in Times Square. I picked my phone up to take a picture, and I said, oh my God, I've been calling him for 17 seconds. And I remember that because I had to call him the next day and said, sorry, I called you in the middle of the night. But that's my last butt dial. They had 17 seconds long butt dials. And I don't know how you train your buttocks to be that flexible that you can punch in numbers and open screens, and or how you use your face cam to open your phone normally.
Over and over again during the key period when you might have been looking for John's phone.
That's
right.
More, but again, a reasonable person would think that you were having a fun time with your wife and you accidentally hit your phone, which always is in your bed, and you called your buddy and he didn't pick up because he actually never heard it, but he called you back and didn't talk to you for 17 seconds. The worst thing was, we know Brian Higgins has no game because he thinks is a pickup line. But he called back and listened for 17 seconds to a couple doing the dirty, and he didn't hear a sound. That says a little bit about Bry's skills in a bedroom.
Oh man, Ryan liked that one.
You know,
So,
none of that had any credibility. None of those stories. But you got to wonder, the jury doesn't know what we know, right? Everybody's talking about the case. We're analyzing it, and we can put it into context. They technically, just listening to that, I don't necessarily believe that they're all just listening in the courtroom, but supposedly they are. But if they're just listening there and they don't have a context for why that's important. So maybe Lally is trying to bury that in the past so that it lacks context.
Yeah,
I'm trying to give him credit for a strategy here. I know I'm stretching.
but still, I know that my buddy always say, think at the average intelligent person you know, and half of the population on Earth is stupider than those. But still, if you hear that story, if you hear, I don't know how my phone was on my bedside table. I didn't have it in my bed, and it made I answered a call and made a call. Won't a reasonable person sit there? But maybe that's why he talks for so long, because again, you can only keep your concentration for 45 minutes at a time. Probably that's why he goes through what's your wife's maiden name.
That's a great point, Baker. I don't think he's that smart, but maybe that's the only way he gets it through, by putting you to sleep first for 45 minutes and then slipping in all the bullshit. Oh, that's so great. That maybe I mean, we're giving him too much credit. I think that he just sucks.
Well, didn't he say that his case was going to take 4 to 5 weeks?
Yeah.
You know, and we're not even halfway through. I don't think we're halfway through. We're not halfway through the important stuff. So maybe, you know, the judge must be roasting him privately at the sidebars.
We got a comment. They said, has there been any noise from BPD about the shoddy investigation of their fallen brother in blue? I haven't heard any. Neither have I. I haven't heard anything from even the loudmouths with the Boston Patrolman Association there, their union, who I'm not a big fan of them. Where are they? They're loud about everything. Why haven't they got loud about John O'Keefe? Maybe people should be asking them, the Boston Patrolman Association. Where have they been?
Did you read that in memorandum of John? I read it the other day. I did a rewatch of Lally's opening. In their memorandum of him, they mentioned the snow. They mentioned, he's been a police officer for this amount of years, and we're going to miss him. It happened in the worst snowstorm ever. I thought we saw that was actually quite stupid of Lally. Those two things he brought in from the disc that the witness didn't know what. And I understand why the defense didn't make us think about it, because they could say, well, we don't know chain of custody on this, so we won't bring it in. But we were shown 2 videos, and they proved there was no snow at 12:30. According to that video, that was minimal snow. It was nowhere near what they said. At 5 o'clock in the morning, it was this much on the hedge you could see outside the library. This was, again, a piece of evidence so damning to his entire story about what happened that you have to think he must willfully be this bad at his job. Brian, you're a lawyer. Would you do that if you can't show the picture of her driving by with a broken taillight? Would you ever put it in a courtroom?
I don't understand anything of what he's doing here.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't do criminal law, and I don't know what his limitations are, what pressure he's feeling from within the DA's office. I mean, you put in succinctly what you've got, and he must not have anything.
No, and that's the weird thing, because as you said, we're 5 weeks in. Well, we're 18 days in, which should have been 2.5 weeks, and he's still planning on bringing 30 more witnesses. Most of them are state troopers who's gonna say what.
Yeah, some of them crime and evidence people. You know what? I want to bring in Olivia Lambo, who's in the green room right now. She's probably got a lot to say about all this. Let's bring her up right now. Olivia,
hello.
Welcome. How you doing?
Good. How's everyone doing?
Doing
Really?
great. We're having a great discussion tonight.
Yeah, I heard some discussion on butt dials.
Yeah, butt dials and how does that body have and the car show no damage to each other? I mean, it's just
Yeah, well, I think we're all just waiting for the Karen Reed murder trial to start.
yeah. When is that going to start?
Good
Is that going
question.
to start after they bring up Buchanan and Tully and?
Do you guys think that they're going to call the lead investigator of the investigation, Michael Proctor?
See, I don't know. I say no. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm torn. I think
Hmm.
I think they're
I'm
going to
leaning
do
more
what he
towards they
stated
will.
in the second to last hearing. We're going to put him in the middle. I think they'll probably bring him in maybe beginning of next. We ended the library guy. We're going to have him come in, and he's going to talk to him about everything that has nothing to do with anything, and then he's probably been crying to Bev to put all the restrictions on the defense to not go hard at Proctor. Proctor, because that man shouldn't have a badge with the investigation. I've been covering cases for a year. You see the bottom of society get a better investigation than this. Have you ever seen a crime scene with no crime scene markers? No measurements
Never.
of
Not
how
for
the
a
crime.
death of a cop
You
in
can't reconstruct
Massachusetts.
the crime scene.
Yeah, where the cops are like revered. I mean, the cops around here are in Massachusetts have major political power. Like they run the state, like their unions. So when a cop dies, it's all hands on deck. It's like royalty died. That's the way they treat the cops here.
And
So
it's as it should be.
Yeah.
That's how it typically is everywhere around the country. And I think that all cops are given. Most people, we give you the benefit of the doubt, and cops are a very necessary part of our society. And so like they're given authority for a reason. So when you see a response like that, the one that was given to when John O'Keefe was found dead on a front lawn, I mean, Michael Morrissey and Brian Tully did this huge press conference. I think it was like back in January, I want to say, this year, for a family that died in, I think it was Dover. And it was the father, I think, killed the wife and the daughter and then took himself out. And it was, they had this huge press conference and everybody was out, all the police were there, everything. And it's like, why didn't John O'Keefe get a press conference? Why was there so little of a showing or a police response?
good question.
Yeah, and it might just be a trope because again, I live 7,000 miles away. But you always see in movies and stuff like that, when a cop goes down, everything goes up. And I saw that there was sadly another officer who passed away yesterday, I think. I've seen that everywhere on Twitter.
Oh yeah, especially I gotta say in Massachusetts, yes, like that's what happens. And they go all out. Like there's no question about it.
My biggest worry is just would Bev understand how bad can she ruin the defense's case? She's not good so far. I think she changed her tune in week 2. I don't know what happened, but what if anything happened? But she kind of changed her tune a little bit. But
She stopped sighing. She stopped sighing so much. You notice that?
I hate that, especially because you who are streaming it out there, you sit with your monitors in and you hear every bit of it. But Larry sighs when he asks questions. I never heard a lawyer sound bored with his own questions.
It's so
What,
true.
if anything, did the band play? And I still want to know what the band played.
I want to know what genre. Like, was it a hip hop act, like blues, country? Could be. Was it a rock band? Like maybe a reggae band? I mean, could be calypso. What was going on? A folk singer?
Well, I think because I had a theory that they might have played that special song. I hit him with the truck because he hit on a woman in Aruba. He's gone and I'm happy. So they could have
Maybe we
planned
could
it.
get a lawsuit going. They could go after like they did.
Yeah,
Remember they went after Judas Priest for the lyrics. The song caused it.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be a better trial than this so far. This is just ridiculous.
But how crazy is it that, just like even speaking about just basic investigative measures and like standard operating procedure, what's usually done in an investigation, let alone a murder of a police officer, like the things that we found out so far in the cross-examination of some of these witnesses is just astounding. I mean, the Canton Police Department look totally incompetent, and I really resonated with Rita Lombardi's speech at the select board this week. Like, if I lived in Canton, I would feel terrified. I wouldn't feel like the people who are supposed to protect me are there to protect me. If anything, I would feel terrorized by those people. Like if they can't even follow basic forensic and investigative protocol when investigating the murder of a fellow police officer, then what does that say for the rest of us? And like it's like, is Jennifer McCabe really a better investigator than all of the Massachusetts State Police and the Canton Police Department? Because we got a critical piece of evidence from Jen McCabe because she was so concerned with the investigation, right? That she got Julie Nagel to send her a screenshot of her text messages with her brother Ryan Nagel. And like something that I feel like Brian and I would probably discuss this on your show back in the fall, about why didn't they get Ryan Nagel's phone records or his phone data? Because you want to build a timeline. And if you know that this individual who came in a vehicle around the time that the state is alleging a motor vehicle homicide, you know that Ryan Nagel arrives right after Karen Reed, wouldn't any information about the specifics of when he arrived be critical for developing a timeline, developing a theory? I mean, like the fact that they didn't interview the two other individuals until like a year and a half later is just inexcusable. But what's important about that screenshot that Jen McCabe apparently got from Julie Nagel when Ryan Nagel texts her that he's here and he's outside of the house is that timestamp. So he texted his sister Julie Nagel that he was at 34 Fairview at 12:23 a.m. So if Karen and John pulled up right before Ryan Nagel and his crew arrived, let's say they pull up at like 12:22, it could have even been 12:21, but around that time, right? Well, do you know what that does for the prosecution, for the state? That means that their so-called GPS analysis, their GPS data, which is the thing that they did 15 months after the fact, once these third-party culprits had been implicated, they did this GPS analysis to essentially confirm their bias that John O'Keefe did not go inside the house. And as you guys and everybody probably knows, because I've been beating this issue like a dead horse, the GPS analysis is complete BS in this case. They didn't use a forensic tool. They were physically measuring out data points using a search and rescue consumer app. And as we know, it's completely unreliable now because their GPS analysis said that Karen and John didn't even arrive to 34 Fairview until after 12:24 a.m. and that John O'Keefe got out of the car and was allegedly struck at 12:25 a.m. Now it seems that their theory has changed with the timeline, but their GPS analysis is completely thrown out now if Ryan Nagel arrived at 12:23 a.m. And that actually is consistent with what the defense has been discussing. The Apple Health data of the floors climbed showing John O'Keefe went inside the house.
Awesome. We also have an attorney here now. Attorney, I know she's got I believe her own show. I know she got her own Twitter. She was referred to us. I think there's a little background noise going too there. Do you have it playing back, Andrea?
I do not know.
No, somebody else does.
I can't hear anything.
You can't hear it? Good.
Now I can hear some echo.
Okay, cool. Maybe it's me leaking through. Andrea, welcome to the show. I want to say your last name. How do I say your last name? Burkhart?
It's Burkhart.
Burkhart. Tell us about yourself.
Well, first off, thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate the invite. So I'm over here in Washington State. I'm about as far from you guys as it's possible to be on the continent. And I've been a practicing criminal defense attorney for getting a lot closer to 20 years than I would like to admit, perhaps at this point. So that's really my background. I started watching trials and giving commentary. I mean, I've watched trials, my whole life. It's always been interesting to me. And I have noticed just the lack of particularly good, accurate commentary when it comes to legal journalism, legal reporting in general. And I, don't want to cast too much fault for that, but it's just not a lot of people with legal education are giving that kind of input on stuff. So that started to change around the time of the Johnny Depp trial. I was getting involved in getting commentary around that trial. Things kind of blew up. It did not go the direction people thought it was going to go. I had a little bit of a preview of that because I had followed the case in the UK, so had a sense of what was going to come, and basically started my YouTube channel in that time frame as well. And since then, I've been looking at other cases, primarily the one over here in my neighborhood, the state of Idaho versus Brian Kohberger, involving the murder of 4 young college students, has been the main one that I've been looking at. But so this case involving Karen Read, it's been on my radar for quite some time, but I just never quite had the time to really dig in and get into the pre-trial stuff, get into a lot of the background that so many people who have been following it for a long time are so familiar with. But I wanted to watch the trial. I didn't want to miss it. I knew just enough to have my suspicions raised that all is not right in Denmark. When it comes to this particular case. So yeah, I've been watching this trial, streaming it on my channel, giving my feedback, and still waiting to see intentional murder anywhere, like behind a bush somewhere. I mean, it's just this case is kind of wild how it's unfolding.
Have you ever seen a case like this?
I mean, no. You've seen cases unravel. You've seen cases that are badly put on. We've certainly seen bad liars. I mean, Amber Heard is about the worst liar that has been on a courtroom witness stand. Certainly, my experience.
How mad do you think Elaine Braderhoff is now? She's not the queen of what if anything anymore.
Yeah, right. She's been surpassed. But I have to tell you, if it came to a battle royale of who is the worst lawyer between Elaine Bredehoft and Adam Lally, that's going to be a close one. I mean, that could be a fight to the death.
Well, she didn't ask who, if anyone, drove the ambulance.
Yeah, she did not spend ungodly amounts of time on stuff that just doesn't matter over and over and over again. The shoveling the apron, it was absolutely driving me out of my mind how we were not getting to the stuff that mattered. And I'm still in that position because here we are done with the time that the Commonwealth told us it was going to take for them to put on their case. They said 4 to 5 weeks. We're at the end of week 5. They still have about half of their people on their witness list to go. And I am still waiting for something that shows me that John O'Keefe was hit by a car. They have adopted such a strange approach here of trying to anticipate the defense case and pre-butt it. I've been calling this a pre-buttal case because that's the only way I can really make sense out of what it is that they're doing, because these witnesses are not helpful to them at all. I mean, in no way whatsoever are these people establishing facts that are helpful to prove the Commonwealth's case. They've elicited, I'll take that back, they've elicited, what, 2 things I think that are helpful. I hit him. Granted how questionable the circumstances around all that are, but that's helpful to the Commonwealth. Kudos to them. They got that into evidence. And then this photograph of a tail light that's covered in snow, looks like there might be something kind of wonky with it. That's it. That's all that the Commonwealth has put in that is really helpful to their theory that would tend to prove, oh, maybe Karen Read hit this guy with her car. Doesn't tell me why she did it, doesn't tell me how it happened, doesn't tell me the mechanism of any of it, but at least, you know, these things are conceivable. They fit with that theory. In the meantime now, we are just getting a lot of evidence of people acting extremely super shady that shouldn't be. I mean, why are all of these people acting so shady? I've been told that it's like shameful to question their behavior. I've been told that I should like be ashamed of myself for asking questions, for being skeptical of these witnesses. I've been told that it's not credible because the defense theory is not credible because, oh, the entire town of Canton practically would have to be involved in some conspiracy for the defense theory to work. And so far, I'm not seeing these things at all. What I am seeing is people who do not have good explanations for what the objective evidence is. Their version of events is being contradicted all over the place by phone records, by you know, timelines, by themselves. I mean, they can't themselves tell a coherent story of what happened. And while I expect that to some extent, just because every case is kind of a Rashomon, right? Every time you have multiple eyes on one situation, you're gonna have multiple memories of it because human memory is imperfect. And so that's something that me as a criminal defense attorney, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. I'm used to that. I don't mind there being minor inconsistencies with things or people getting things slightly wrong. But when everybody under the sun is telling me, oh no, I didn't make that phone call, it's a butt dial. No. We have a problem now with your version of events not being credible in light of the evidence that is out there that you can't control. So,
and Andrea, to add on to that, especially after those same witnesses have confirmed or validated other phone calls or other things that are, you know, beneficial to them or helpful to them. But then when it's something that is unfavorable or incriminating, suddenly that data, that call log is unreliable, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, that was something that I thought that Mr. Jackson did so effectively with Jen McCabe when he had her on the stand, was walk her down that route of how many things from this phone evidence, these extractions, how much of this information was reliable. The fact that the time that you got home, the steps that you took, the fact that you opened and used this search engine, all of this stuff is reliable. The only thing we can't count on is that extraordinarily incriminating Google search that you did at 2:27 in the morning. That's the only thing that's off in your whole phone. It's just, it's not credible. It's not believable. You need to give me some explanation for how that could be. I realize they haven't called any of the forensic people yet. And so that's what I'm waiting for. I don't understand why a prosecutor would start their case by setting me up to be extremely skeptical of their version of events. You should have put the good stuff first. You should have shown me that John O'Keefe his injuries are consistent with being hit by a car. Show me that Karen Read's car is consistent with being in a vehicle collision like this. Because if you have already primed me to think, yeah, it looks like she could have done it, then when I hear all of this shady stuff, I might give it a little bit more leeway. I might be like, yeah, well, it sounds weird, but you know, the car, the bumper, the injury, I mean, whatever. I might be able to give it a little bit more grace. But now you have primed me to think you guys are hiding something. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's that you killed the guy and dumped him in the grass. I don't know if you got something else going on in this house that you're trying to hide from police, and this is all just a big coincidence that you don't want all this information coming out. But you're making me look at you side eye, and if you're making me look at you side eye, that is going to carry over to the rest of the evidence you're going to have to present in this case. So I might have been very open to your technical explanation for how everything in the phone could be right, except for this one 227 Google search. That one's completely wrong. Well, and there's probably like 6 phone calls that night, right? The phone calls to John's phone.
A bunch of phone calls.
Those are probably wrong too. If they're not butt dials, that's probably Celebrite being wrong.
Can I ask you, now you say Celebrite, you're a defense lawyer. How many appeals are you going to write when the Celebrite comes in and said, yeah, we actually don't know anything. We just downloaded and put a timestamp on it. How many appeals are you going to write? I've been being a juror in Denmark for 13 years. I don't know how many Celebrites report I've seen. The geolocation for the evidence found at this place. This is where the phone was at when they took that photo of the evidence. Every case in the last 5 years have some kind of Celebrite. But all of a sudden, Celebrite, it's kind of like maybe sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work. It was an old update. We had a big problem with GPS recordings in Denmark back in, I think it was like 5 years ago. And they had thousands of cases that had to go back because they said they could triangulate very specific where the phone was within. And you can't do that. It's just in those 2 cones and somewhere. And they had to do, all the cases had to be looked at and say, okay, is this or that? All you defense lawyers are sitting there saying, oh, Celebrite's out. Let's have fun because we're going to appeal everything.
Right.
It's so stupid.
And that's
and again, this is the state.
That's something that, there's a lot of people, especially on Twitter and online, who are especially vitriolic. It seems like, if you have any sort of opinion on this case, and as far as I'm concerned, I view it as something that should concern everybody because, if this gold standard forensic tool that criminal prosecutions across this country have relied upon to seek convictions for the past however many years is suddenly unreliable, or the data can be moved around and curated to fit the narrative of the prosecution at the time, then what does that mean for any of us? Like, if you're doing something that is not at all incriminating, or somebody else next to you is doing something incredibly incriminating, and that data either gets used against you, or the data that could exonerate you is unreliable. I mean, the fact that that Google search came to the forefront, and it came out last spring because the prosecution, first of all, they withheld Jen McCabe's phone data, the phone extraction. They didn't ever get that until, I believe it was February of 2023. So the defense didn't get Jen McCabe's phone data until a year after all of this. And that's why they didn't come out with that motion filing, with all the bombshells, the 2:27 a.m. Google search that came out in April of 2023. And so it's scary for anybody who lives in America, because if you see a prosecutor's office who is suddenly just completely contradicting everything that they've ever used as a basis of fact and to seek criminal convictions, that's a really scary prospect for all of us, because it's like, what are facts then? What can be relied upon? If we can't agree upon what are facts and what is just irrefutable data, then what is the truth anymore?
Yeah, absolutely. And it calls into question Why prosecutors, see, this is my personal beef. Prosecutors are supposed to be agents of justice. They represent all of us. They are not supposed to just be interested in winning. They're supposed to be interested in the truth. They're supposed to be interested in catching the right people, and they're supposed to be interested in charging them with the right crimes. And when all of these things happen and prosecutors do their job correctly and they fulfill those functions right, there's not much that I can do. I am very limited in the tools that I have. If you've investigated properly, you found the right person, you filed the right charge. My job is basically to counsel you. Here's what prison is going to be like, once you get there. So it's very important that prosecutors do that and take that responsibility that they have so seriously. And so if there are indeed problems in Celebrite and in this system, if this is not just a deal where you're saying that now because it's convenient for you now to be able to frame things in this way. But no, if that has always been the case, that there are these flaws in Celebrite, you should have been disclosing that all along. You should have been forthcoming with that type of information. You should have made sure that juries are aware of that so that they don't put undue weight on it. But of course that hasn't happened. And so to me, it just makes me extremely skeptical, not just of this particular prosecution and the way that they seem to be just so incredibly flexible with their standards. Like, I'm sorry, you cannot defend the red Solo cups to me. You cannot, to nobody, under any set of circumstances. That is completely indefensible as a practice, and you should know that. You should go ahead and concede that, and let us address the implications of what that means for how badly that messed up the forensic side of your case. So it doesn't just...
Hey, to be fair, the detective didn't know how to use evidence tape. So
yeah.
again, you're watching this case, and even I, who doesn't have a law degree, I'm sitting here thinking, don't pee on my back and say it's raining. It's a
good one.
It's I watched enough crime shows to see you put the tape over, then you cut the tape, and you note when you put new tape over saying, lead detective Johnny opened it, mouth closed. Why didn't they put the open containers in an evidence locker, in a cooled evidence locker? Why did they put it next to the vehicle? How much reasonable doubt will there be if they find blood spatter? Yeah, you had open containers with blood standing right next to the vehicle.
Right,
yeah, I mean, Contamination Central right here. You took a photograph of you contaminating the probably one of the most important pieces of evidence here, the car. You contaminated that entire area.
Exactly. It's like the I wouldn't even call it incompetence, because I mean, there's just no excuse for police officer. All of us, I don't think any of us have any law enforcement experience. I'm not a police officer, but I know that you don't collect blood evidence in red Solo cups, and it's like, so incompetence is not the explanation for it. And it's one thing, okay, maybe the red Solo cups, that's a huge blunder and it's inexcusable, but it didn't stop there, because like you both just laid out, they left in a shopping bag, a Stop and Shop bag, they just left that sitting open right near the supposed murder weapon with people who are potential suspects in this case, who have access to that very room. I mean, it's like, it's unbelievable. And anybody who wants justice for John O'Keefe should be equally, everybody should be enraged by that, because all of those things have compromised the ability to pursue justice and to get justice for John O'Keefe. And all those things are purely from the police's conduct, that, nobody forced them to do that.
Yeah. Oh, that photo killed me because they were wearing gloves. Did you catch that? There with the Stop and Shop, the used grocery bag containing the red Solo cups, containing the biological evidence, being carefully opened by a gloved officer.
Who had the gloves in his pocket.
theatricality of it, you could not write that in a script.
He had the gloves in his inner pockets, contaminating the gloves. Then he wiped his face, and then he touched the evidence. And again, as a defense lawyer, how did you find a crime scene being preserved when they went around with a leaf blower blowing on the evidence? How is this even allowed? Well, I know why it's allowed. And Bev is the woman who says yes or no. But you're blowing dirty air on the evidence. You can't use it for anything. You could, it's John's blood. We can say that.
I didn't find the leaf blower, honestly, for me personally, was like one of the least offensive things they did in this entire crime scene preservation. I would have had a lot less problem with the leaf blowing had they thoroughly documented the scene before they went and did that. Instead of, we got like 4 photographs taken with some 1980s era potato, okay? Just these horrible quality photographs. I understand it's hard to take photographs of snow. That's why you need better equipment, or you need somebody who just is trained to know how to take a photograph to be able to document that type of thing. So that's in and of itself is very important. But you need markers. Where on earth are the crime scene markers? Where on earth is the crime scene diagram here? These are 101 basic things that the patrol officers learn how to do in the academy, because that's part of the role that they carry out in the crime scene. It's the investigators who are making the judgment calls about, what needs to be done, who needs to be talked to, what needs to be collected, and so on and so forth. But the basic grunt work of go in, you see something that needs to be documented. It looks like it has some connection with the crime. You place a marker, you identify what that item is, you note who it is who saw it, you photograph it. You photograph it preferably from a lot of different angles. One thing I have not seen, and I am shocked to see, considering this involves the death of a police officer. I am used to a busy crime scene with, say, 10, 15 police officers on it. In this day and age, every single one of them is snapping photographs on their phone, because your phone is there. You have the phone. It's easy to do. It's available. It's backup. It makes sure that way that if something gets missed, or some piece that's important that you didn't get it at quite the right angle or something like that, you have so much redundancy there that it's just less likely that something important is going to slip through here. This case, we have the one guy taking photographs of the unmarked, undiagrammed ground. They are lumps in the snow. They tell us nothing about the configuration of the body when he was found, what his position was, where the blood was relative to where he was. The phone, okay, I gotta come back to this phone, because the phone, the problems with the phone are legion here, but okay, so supposedly the phone is underneath his body as well. Document this stuff. That's crime scene 101. And so the fact that absolutely none of that was done in that case, it's problematic enough when you have incompetence, right? The red Solo cups, clear, at bare minimum, this is clear incompetence. But the problem is when you start seeing incompetence layered on incompetence, layered on incompetence, you have to start to wonder, is this really incompetence, or is this deliberate? Is this being done for a purpose? Because how could anybody just accidentally be this dumb? These are questions I have.
They're not.
How did you feel about the officer putting his finger in the blood?
It's just, the forensic case here is shot. They have shot themselves in the foot. There's really no way that you can give any credence to it, just in light of what they did, how they handled it. I understand. I know enough about what's coming to know, there's going to be like John's DNA on the taillight and stuff. Well, yeah, you contaminated the crime scene. You can't tell me now beyond a reasonable doubt that the only reason John's DNA would be on this taillight is because it must have hit him. Because you're the one over there waving the bag around with his biological evidence in it.
There it is. And you documented that, thank God.
They documented it. I mean, it's just crazy.
They didn't think anyone would see it.
And so when you have that also combined with stuff like the missing footage from the Sally Port, that's where it starts getting dark. You know, that's where, to me, this starts becoming, it's just beyond the ability to explain in terms of incompetence. You can't explain that. You can't explain that from incompetence. The coincidences are too many. And they are, unfortunately, just all aligning in favor of this being deliberate.
Yes. Now, we've all mentioned it, I think, a little bit tonight about the harassment that a lot of us get for just talking about this case and supporting Karen Read. Have you ever seen anything like that in other cases, or is this like unusual?
This is the Amber Heard playbook. It's the Amber Heard playbook. And it was so ironic when I first started paying attention to the commentary in this case, because holy cow, we even have some of the same players involved. Hi, Wendy Murphy. Yeah, I remember you. It's very much a lot of the same playbook. Just the obsession with social media and what's being said on social media and the need to control what is being said on social media. And so this resorting to, threats, doxing, harassment, insults, but mostly intimidation types of tactics. Very, very familiar with that, because we saw it for years from Amber Heard and her crew. It was something that I was always a little bit immune to, because here I am out there in the internet under my own name, right? Like, what kind of idiot does that? But here I am. I'm still standing.
I think a bunch of us are with you here. Yeah.
But it would drive them nuts, because I was a self-employed lawyer. You know, I work for myself. I'm my own boss. So it would drive them crazy that they couldn't find, like, who's somebody we can go get Burkhart in trouble with.
I love it.
That's the whole playbook. Yeah. So I have seen that. It is alarming, and it does then naturally draw parallels in my mind with the people who are using this type of playbook. What do you have in common with Amber Heard that makes you use her playbook?
I have a serious question, by the way, because I saw a Caffey Daffy, the beacon of truth, saying we were all just grifters and paid actors. And I've seen Doink the Clown multiple times stating that we are members of Karen Read's PR team. Have any of you gotten to check? Maybe it's because
it's just the opposite, Baker. We're like a lot of us, like myself, we raise money we work for free, basically.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to check yet.
She hasn't paid us. We've paid her. Like a lot of us have actually, volunteered our time, volunteered our money, and they turn around and say we're paid. No, we're giving. We're people who are donating. It's just the opposite. So
and again they come in and say, well, you're just a grifter because this case. I started, as I said, back when it was you, me, LTL, the Clara, Turtle Boy, and Brandy Churchwell. We have to remember her. She's doing a great podcast as well. We started out a year ago following the hearings, and like a month ago, well, 2 months ago, people came in. Oh, the grifter is doing it. I was covering the Nicholas Mew case. I just covered a hearing in this case, and I do. I'm just doing live trials. I'm sitting here thinking, I really need that paycheck somewhere. It must at some point. Maybe the case is over. I'll get my $1 million. It's I really, because it's so stupid, the argument. Well, you're just a grifter. I'm on YouTube just as Caffey Daffy is, or Wendy Murphy, or Doink the Clown, her wonderful son. He blocked me on Twitter. I'm a little mad about that. But all of these people are doing exactly the same thing we are doing. They're just covering the case from their point of view.
It shows you, what they're working with in terms of argument. I mean, it's like an ad hominem argument essentially. Exactly. I don't have good facts on my side to make a compelling argument or engage in discourse about this case with people. And so in order to try and discredit you, I'm going to say that you're paid, or I'm going to, you know, insinuate that that you're the PR apparatus of the defense. And it's like, it's just kind of, it's become very transparent over time in this case, because it's like just one of those go-tos. And, you know, it's, that's not somebody who's concerned at getting to the truth or understanding the truth. You know, why are we even talking about me or about, you know, the different online personas who are commenting on the case? The case is not about us. Let's talk about the facts of the case.
Exactly.
And
it's just
one of those
distractions.
things.
Yeah.
It's just distractions. There are people out there just trying to get the people who are discussing the case away from the discussion especially when they're making points.
Exactly.
I mean, I started debating someone a couple of days ago who was arguing John was hit. The bruising on the hand is because he was hit in the hand by the car. That's how ridiculous. Then I looked up the
That
person.
sounds lethal.
Yeah, I mean, so he got thrown. He was hit in the hand and he got thrown. And you know, then you look the person up. I always go and look at, is it a new account?
Yeah,
It was a new account. So I just blocked the person and stopped.
March 2024.
April.
All
Yeah.
right. That's what they always are.
Well, you know, it's always with cases like this, when you have these types of playbooks being deployed, there are certain tells. The confession through projection is a big tell, right? You grifters, coming from who? From Coffin Daffer? Really? I mean, that's rich.
Or
That's
Kevin,
rich.
who said, I'm going to do screenplays for a living for my mom's attic.
Yeah.
Like, come on,
right?
dude.
I mean, this is somebody who has, you know, made her entire shtick off of, you know, basically outrage farming on Twitter by posting completely incorrect, unfactual, unverified, unsubstantiated, blatantly untrue stuff, and then grifts off of being, you know, corrected, which she of course she will never accept. That's grifting. So it's confession through projection. It's manipulation, right? It's heartstrings. It's guilt. It's shame. It's relying on these emotional plays instead of just give me the freaking evidence. You don't have to try to guilt me into believing anything, okay? Because that's not going to work on me. That's not how my brain works, not how I'm wired. I will believe facts when I see evidence in support of them. That's what science is. That's a skeptical approach. I don't believe it. You prove it to me, and then we're going to get somewhere. And the last thing that you see is the cognitive dissonance. It is all over the place. You don't need to get angry over what people are talking about on the internet about a case that doesn't involve you. There's no reason to be emotionally involved in that. And so people will tell you when they don't like what you're saying, when they disagree with what you're saying, but they can't contradict it. They can't present new evidence. They can't change your mind. And so it makes them angry because they are very threatened by the fact that they might be wrong and they haven't found a way around having to accept what it is that the truth is, or what the evidence is showing, or something like that. So those are things, again, saw it very much in the Karen Reed case. I'm seeing it going on over here in Idaho. Saw it a ton in Amber Heard's case. These are just common themes with people who are not interested in finding the truth. They are interested in a case for alternative reasons, because of the politics of it, because of the personal allegiances of it, whatever. But those are the tells, and you can see them all over as soon as you recognize them.
Excellent commentary. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Can I just read Kathy Daffer's last tweet? Make no mistake, for the Clara, the blogger, the Little, the DUI agent, and so many more, it's about money. Support the conspiracy and the mob will come. If you don't believe me, listen to Karen Reed's supporters on this recording, blah, blah. And all on the back of John O'Keefe's deceased body. That's what makes me so angry and keeps me involved. The truth has been obscured by green paper. I hit him, screamed Karen Reed. Yannetti said early on that it was an accident and Reed had no intention of hurting Officer O'Keefe. Reed said on national television she could have incapacitated him, and in his drunkenness he didn't get up. There is a cover-up, but not by the Commonwealth. Not in this case. It's by those who made up the conspiracy that 11 average people, including a Boston LEO and an ATF agent, beat Officer O'Keefe up for no particular reason in the middle of a birthday party and threw him in their yard, and then convinced 60 witnesses from 10 different agencies to lie and go along with it, all for the money. And I said, do you know the people testifying that she said, I hit him, all said it in 3 different spots, and none of them told anyone? She didn't reply to that. But I love she calls out names, because, the Glera, Melanie Little, DUI guy have huge audiences who will come in there and say, you're wrong. She is just drama farming because she needs those, 500,000 engagements on Twitter to get money every month. She's just, it's, I can't see. Whenever they said, do you want to discuss this with anyone? I said, yes, as long as we stick to the affidavits and what's been talked about in the hearings. I don't want to hear about Turtle Boy is a bad guy. John O'Keefe did this. Karen Reed kissed someone. Yeah, so what? She gave him a peck on the chin, and then she ghosted him. Yeah, but she hated John. No testimony of that so far. They had arguments. I always say in my chat, any women here who have tried this at home, boyfriend saying, get out of here, I don't want to talk to you, or any boyfriend have heard their woman say, get out of here, I don't like you anymore.
Almost every weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
If
I don't
so
clean
stupid.
up, come on, I'm getting that. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's just the
Are you
nature of
streaming
the-
again? I thought we were having date night. Well, I'm just talking to Andrea Burkhart.
Yeah. Or if I do too many shows in a row, you got to spend time with you make time, right? So sometimes it's justified. Sometimes it's justified for the partner to be, and sometimes it's justified for me to be mad. It's just the way it works in a relationship.
What I loved about that tweet that you read, that comment that you read, is it really illustrates how to spot a bad faith arguer, right? This is not somebody who's interested in engaging in good faith on this topic, and you can tell in a couple of very clear and crystal clear ways. Number one, the wearing John O'Keefe as a skin suit. This is very, very common and extremely manipulative tool. This is the same thing that Amber Heard would do when she would like to wear the skin suits of victims of domestic violence, right? Because then a verdict against Amber Heard is not just a verdict against her for being a liar. You're accusing every single survivor of domestic violence out there of being a liar. That's the skin suit that she tries to wear to try to guilt you into a certain perspective. Very, very common. I've been seeing a lot of this with the Karen Reed commentary. Wearing John O'Keefe's skin suit, you do not have the right to do that. It's honestly pretty disgusting to do that. The people that have the right to do that are the people that are close to John O'Keefe and the people that care about John O'Keefe. They're the ones that have his interests at heart, and they're the ones that are able to wield them. If you are not that person and not a spokesperson for any of those people, then you have no business commenting on what's good or bad for John O'Keefe, because the truth is what's good for John O'Keefe. The second thing that I noticed in that comment that's such a tell is the caricaturization of the defense argument. And this has been a common theme throughout the case. If you can strongman an opposing argument and then discount it, you're much more persuasive because you have given them the benefit of every doubt of everything that could go in their favor with how it's being described. When you just draw it as a caricature, 60 people in Canton had to be drawn into a conspiracy and yada yada, you're just shadowboxing something that is not there in the ring with you. That's not the defense argument. One of my absolute favorite moments in this trial so far has been, it was when Anthony Nuttall, the firefighter, was on the stand. He had that clear memory of him wearing a puffy jacket. John O'Keefe was wearing a puffy jacket, and I remember it so clearly because his fingers were stiff. We had a hard time getting it off of his fingers. And then he's shown the photograph of that thin little cotton cover that he's wearing. Yep. Clearly not a puffer jacket. And Alan Jackson made that point. Yeah, memory is a funny thing. And that is such a strong point because that is key to how something like this can happen. It's not that 30, 40, 50 people or whatever have to be deliberately involved in some type of cover-up or in some kind of conspiracy. It's just that this is how people work. People don't have perfect memories. People do have assumptions. People do have allegiances that affect their perspectives. And people incorporate information that they have acquired after the fact and rewrite what it is that they remember happening based on that new information.
Telephone? Remember the telephone game?
Yeah.
Just like that. You'd never get the same thing you would start it with telephone. It would change.
Absolutely. And there's been so much study on this stuff. It's one of the areas I'm particularly interested. Dr. Elizabeth Loftus is the queen of the false memory stuff, but she's done specific studies on how even just the choice of word you use can affect somebody's memory of something that they saw. So if you describe a car accident to people that they witnessed, and you're describing it back to them, and you say, yeah, the cars collided with each other, they'll remember it at they'll estimate the speed at 20 to 25 miles an hour. If you tell them the cars collided into each other, they'll remember it more like 40, 45 miles an hour. So you can literally affect people's memory of past events just based on how things are presented. So yes, when you're sitting around a firehouse and you're chit-chatting with your colleagues and the people that you work with and rely on and trust, and they're incorporating bits and pieces like, oh, maybe she said I hit him or something like that, this is a perfectly normal and expected process that kind of thing can happen. It does not require a massive conspiracy on the part of hundreds of different people. So when I see that argument, it is just a crystal clear tell to me that this is not somebody that is interested in engaging in good faith on the merits of the case. They just want to beat you into accepting their view of what the case should be, because they wouldn't have to misrepresent the case to me if they were interested in a good faith conversation about it.
But Andrea, isn't she potentially liable in a civil suit? Because this is only the first of several suits that are going to come out of this, right? The things that Jennifer's saying so boldly about Karen and about the guilt, and there are more lawsuits coming.
Well, this is part of the grift, right? She gets to hide behind the actual malice standard, that when somebody is a public figure or it's a matter of significant public import, the way that the case law is set up right now basically says, unless you know that it's true and you say it anyway, that's pretty much the only way you can be liable in that type of situation. So you can believe highly improbable things, or you can have really bad reasons for thinking something that's true. But as long as you can hang your hat on, well, for some reason I thought this to be the case, then no, you're not going to be able to get past the First Amendment bar there. She did a lot of atrocious stuff over here in the Brian Kohberger case, which thank God she's finally gone quiet on. But not just involving Mr. Kohberger, involving his defense attorney, Ann Taylor, the public defender from Kootenai County over here. Very respected, very accomplished public defender, has made a career out of doing this type of work. And yeah, she's been maligned. She's been accused of things that are blatantly, completely not true, total falsehoods. They're in the public spotlight. And so it just makes it very, very, very difficult to pursue any type of remedy for even what to me is just obviously bad commentary. And yet at the same time, she has a following. So some people at least are listening to this.
To some extent, she's gotten information from the DA's office. So it might, so a lawsuit might uncover a lot of information there that's been leaked to her.
In this case, yeah.
I'm not sure if she's on the up and up, but if there's a there'll be civil trials all over the place. This case is going on for 2 more years.
Well, the thing that going off of what you're saying, Brian, I don't know if Andrea is familiar with this, but there's emails that have been uncovered from public records requests between Jennifer Coffendorfer and the DA's office, DA Michael Morrissey's office, in this case, and emails where the DA's office and its investigators on this case, so Yuri Buchanan, Brian Tully, Michael Proctor, where they're discussing Jennifer Coffendorfer's tweets. But specifically in some of the correspondence between the spokesperson for DA Morrissey's office, David Traub is his name, and his emails with Jennifer Coffendorfer and with what's her name, the Boston Magazine journalist Gretchen Voss.
Yeah.
He is essentially trying evidence out, or offering new evidence outside of the courtroom that is nowhere, at least at that time, and I think even to date, that is nowhere to be found in any of the public court documents, in any of the court record in this case. Like information about critical facts, like you were talking about earlier, the chain of custody of John O'Keefe's cell phone, right? Like that's a very big deal.
Yes.
And it's never been clearly outlined anywhere in any of the court filings or the police reports, which you would think it would be if you know, with the Canton police in their report somewhere. And I was shocked when I saw this email that was obtained from the public records request, because David Traub says all this information that we didn't even know before this, that Michael Proctor and Yuri Buchanan, Michael Proctor had to shovel out his personal vehicle at his house, and then they came to the Canton Police Department where they took custody of John O'Keefe's cell phone. And it's like around the same time, Jennifer Coffendorfer was tweeting these things about how when you use the term scene, like crime scene, in your report writing, that law enforcement knows that scene can be used interchangeably to refer to the scene of the investigation at the time. So in this case, when they sometimes say scene, they could be referring to the Canton Police Department scene or the Dayton, Massachusetts scene or whatever, because
The hospital.
you know, I mean, it's totally absurd. Like the word scene literally comes from crime scene, the scene of the crime, and so you know, it's just the history of this case and the procedure, not only the procedural history, but just little things like that from those public records requests, and seeing a prosecutor's office who's trying evidence outside of the courtroom, which is what DA Michael Morrissey did in that video statement last summer, which I'm sure you've seen by now. I mean, have you ever seen a prosecutor do anything like that, make a video statement like that?
Oh, you know who it reminds me of? Reminds me of Michael Nifong is who it reminds me of. Do you remember Michael Nifong?
Yeah, wasn't that Wendy connected too?
The Duke.
That would be old Duke Lacrosse.
Yeah.
I mean, such a problematic statement, and I mean, yes, for representatives to be putting stuff out that is not part of the public record, not, you know, just the kind of basic fundamental facts that you need to know about a criminal case. Yeah, this is ethically problematic. I got interested in that because I was interested in the motion to disqualify the DA's office, because I can't make sense of this reasoning, of this ruling. She says flat out, yeah, he crossed the line. He crossed the line and broke the ethical rules. Yeah, he did. It's pretty clear that he did. But yet that doesn't create a conflict. It just, I can't really make sense of how that worked in the judge's mind.
But that's the problem in this case, is Bev is the one who decides what's true and not true. It's great for appeal, and apparently she's really good at losing appeals. But Olivia, can I ask you a question? Because I took my week off in Tennessee. When did that Jeep start showing up inside the house? Because I read Jennifer McCabe's statement that she saw Karen parked at the mailbox in her earlier testimony. All of a sudden, there's a Jeep there. That ruins the entire setup of Nagel parking behind her when she was at the post box, and then she moves up 2 to 3 car lengths. Again, that magical Jeep just appeared.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's just astounding about that, the white Jeep that nobody has ever talked about ever before until this trial, and only half of the witnesses are talking about it, the ones who also have other major credibility issues. But the witnesses who were there in a car, Ryan Nagel, Heather Maxon, and Richie D'Antuono, they saw no such white Jeep, which specifically would have disabled Ryan Nagel's ability to have seen Karen Reed's taillight from where they were positioned. But the other thing that nobody's really talking about with that whole white Jeep thing is that how does the state's theory even work then? Because what they've proposed in their documents, that she pulled up 62 feet or whatever it is, and we calculated the speed that someone would have to be going to break a taillight or whatever it is, because their calculations, their numbers are not based on vehicle data, because there's no vehicle data that is informing them of it. This is just their opining, that she'd have to go at a speed of 24 miles per hour or something like that. Well, if that's the case, you also have to calculate how much distance it takes somebody to stop from that speed. And so if there's a white Jeep Wrangler parked right behind Karen Reed that would have to be in the line of travel, the path of travel that her vehicle would be going in if she's reversing into John O'Keefe, unless if you're trying to argue that she went towards the direction of the house, which would mean she would crash into the house or the car's parked in the driveway, then how exactly does this work? How does she strike John O'Keefe and then not strike the white Jeep Wrangler that's parked right behind in the path of travel on Fairview Road where she would go, because it's not a very wide front yard. And so the whole white Jeep thing is confounding. I mean, is it because Brian Higgins knows that if he was driving his work vehicle, which he was driving that day back from New York, that would be a problem because he was drinking that night? And so now they want to just get it on the record that he was in fact driving a personal vehicle. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's it. Or, who else has white Jeeps? We know that Caitlin Albert testified that she has a white Jeep. While it's not a Wrangler, it's a white Jeep. But we also know that the McCabe's have a white Jeep Wrangler. Was Allie McCabe driving a white Jeep that night? It sounds like they need a white Jeep to be there, or an explanation for one being there at a time potentially when it was not supposed to be there. Or, there's certainly some importance for why this white Jeep had to be there. And
is it to hide
despite all the evidence showing that it wasn't there?
It's probably to hide the fault. Yeah. But another thing that they probably didn't think about when they put that Jeep there, if that Jeep is parked there, the body is over here when he leaves, because he leaves at between 12:30 and 1 o'clock. He would be positioned here in the car. When you turn on your headlights,
Right. Oh,
has
yeah, that's
this
another. Exactly.
And again, the more they try to explain what's going wrong in this case, or make the evidence fit their narrative, this is, you can't tell me a guy who used to be in Iraq, a guy who's an ATF agent, a guy who's a police officer, a guy who's a firefighter, has no spatial awareness. I know he had 6 whiskeys in him, but we're talking about 6'2", 217. Not covered in snow, because there was no snow. We know that from the library video.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And we know he was in dark clothes, which would be very, very visible. And headlights do this pattern, so they would have lit up where John is lying on the ground. Mm-hmm. They just put in another thing to ruin their own case.
And not only that, but he also Brian Higgins also testified about how when he gets into his car to leave, he starts his car up and then he forgot to lift his plow, so he pulled forward like a foot or something, and he hears, probably hears and feels the plow, dragging on the road surface. So if that were the case, you would imagine you probably immediately slam on your brakes, like, oh crap, I forgot to lift the plow, right? So you slam on your brakes, and then you're probably looking forward down toward the road or the what's in front of you. So it's almost as if there would have been even more of an ample opportunity for that witness specifically to have seen John O'Keefe's body, because of where his car is parked, where his headlights are pointing, like you say, but also because of this whole, I forgot to put my plow thing up.
Oh, we forgot. He drove on the middle of the road because it was a one-line road and there was so much snow he had to drive. And then they showed us the video from the library.
Mm-hmm.
There was no snow.
No snow. No
I,
snow.
I live in Scandinavia. We get snow sometimes. We don't run around with plows on our own vehicles. But we don't send the snow plows out riding on the roads when there's 2 inches of snow, because then you'll scrape off all the asphalt and you'll scrape off the bottom of the plow.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, just to be a smartass, I plowed the driveway. Why? Because there's no snow, and if you plowed the driveway, you would leave a mound of snow behind Brian Jr.'s car. It's, again, we're back to what we've been talking about all night long. The more witnesses they put on the stand, the stupider the story gets.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous because, and he's a trained ATF agent. He's a former soldier. He has no spatial awareness because when you've been in Iraq back in the good old days, you never checked the side of the road for anything. And I used to be deployed. Those things are back here. You don't think about them, but you just have certain things you don't do.
Thank you so much.
Noticed.
We just about done with the show tonight. I want to give everyone like a final opportunity. Let's start with Brian Barrea. Any final thoughts or comments?
Final thought is, I think this is going to be the first case in the history of criminal law where the jury comes back with a verdict of WTF. There you go.
Is that a verdict? That could be a new verdict?
That could be a new verdict. They're going to scratch out anything that was on the ballot and write WTF.
WTF? You waste all my time.
Yeah.
Olivia, what do you have for us?
Final thoughts. Well, we're 5 weeks down in the prosecution's case in chief, and I guess I've never watched a trial or experienced anything like this where I feel more confused about what the state's case is after 5 weeks of testimony than I did before they even started trial. So I can't imagine the jury is finding much clarity. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Thank you so much for being here again tonight, Olivia Nile. People wanted you to go through the 227 search again.
Sorry, what did you say?
I said, I don't know if we don't have time for it, but a lot of people were requesting that you go through the 227 search again.
Oh yeah, we should do that soon before they have the state's expert on, because
Exactly.
There's a lot of nuance to that. But I'll talk to you behind the scenes. Maybe we can work something out and go through the different reports on that.
That would be perfect. Thank you so much for being here. And tell us again where they can find you too on Twitter and everywhere else. Olivia Nile, is that it?
Olivia Lambo on
Olivia Lambo.
Twitter. So Olivia Lamb with an O at the end.
Perfect. And
thank you.
Thank you so much. And Mr. Baker.
Well, thank you so much for reaching out and giving me a spot to spend my midnight to 2 a.m. With all your lovely people. And wonderful to see that after 18 days, I'm just as confused as everyone else. else. I thought it was just because I had a very low IQ, but apparently it's just that bad of a case. And thank you all so much for the great work you're doing, especially you, Olivia. As I've told you before, I steal a lot of your stuff off Twitter because sharing is caring, is what
I
I'm
couldn't
told.
agree more.
No, and I really love the coverage this is getting because especially Andrea and EDB and all these people coming in late, seeing it with open eyes and sitting here just like us who's been sitting here for a year thinking, WTF?
WTF? That's
Exactly.
It's going to be
Exactly
the
it.
new WTF case is what's this going to be remembered as. But thank you so much for having me on, and I'm on the Broken Baker on YouTube if anyone wants to follow.
And I think our mods have been putting everyone's links in the chat. So definitely, if you're listening, follow everyone who's been on the show tonight. Andrea, tell us where people can find you and your final thoughts tonight, attorney.
So you can find me, Andrea Burkhart, on YouTube, Twitter, Substack, sometimes Instagram, but I don't do a whole lot there. On the WTF note, I am just very patiently awaiting the Commonwealth's explanation for the car accident that caused a guy's arm to be all bit up by a dog.
Yeah.
It's
I
that
don't know if
upgrade
it's
to the
gonna happen.
Lexus.
Yeah. Well, thank you
get
so
them
much.
Dog bite or shark bite.
Yes. Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks
Have a
for
great
having us.
night.
thanks.
Have a
Thank
good night,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
And I'm just gonna read off some super chats to, end the night for everybody who's still watching. We had some Venmos come in tonight. Thank you so much to our guests. We had a great lineup there. We had Baker, the Broken Baker from Denmark, Olivia Lambo or Olivia Nile, depending on where you watch her from. And Andrea Burkhart, she was amazing tonight, attorney. You also had another attorney, Brian Barea. Thank you so much for being guest tonight. Let's look at. We had a couple super chat, a couple Venmos come in. Deborah sent $20. She said, "Thank you so much, Deborah." We also had James sent $4.99. He said for the Mark Betterow appearance. And not sure if we read Suzanne's last night or today. She sent 25. She says, "Love your show and guests." Thank you so much, Suzanne. And I know we read Gary Titus, so I think we're all caught up on the Venmos. Just going to take a quick look at Cash App, though. Usually we don't have any come in there sometimes, so I'll check it real quick. I hope I got all the super chats up tonight. There were a lot of them. It was tough to try to keep up again tonight. Lady Libra, thank you so much for becoming a new member. Bunch of new members tonight. Okay, looks like no Cash Apps. That's good. Get us through this. I want to thank everyone. Wisconsinite, thank you so much for the donation tonight and the comments. Furious, thank you. Thank you. One Step Beyond You. Thank you to the local who's always at the protest, Scott McGinnis. Thank you so much for your super chat again tonight. Luna's mom, she's always here. Luna's mom 24. Thank you so much. Bruce West, Ryan Landis. Thank you. Princess Chelsea, thank you so much. Amy in Boston, thank you. Another frequent donator. Thank you so much. Miss Shorty sent in the Australian dollars. Thank you again. Tracy Fagan, $5. Thank you so much today. Crazy Old Fart, another frequent donator. Thank you so much for the donations. Casey Tebow, thank you so much for the donations tonight. I think that's most of them. I think I read out Debbie J also. Thank you, Debbie. Janice and Kristen, thank you so much. Also, Zach, thank you, man. And Michael Faraday. and Shinobi and Sue, of course, and Jess and Peter A became a member tonight. Thank you. So I think we got them all up. Cool. And little Irish girl. Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone who's been supporting, watching. We'll be back soon. I'm not sure when. Probably Monday morning, I guess. Monday night. We'll see what happens. Maybe even sooner. I got a lot more guests planned too. Tonight I was just let's see how many guests we could get on one show tonight and see how it worked out. And it worked. I want to thank the guests for all joining last minute, delivering another good show tonight. I think I got time to hit some ice cream stops. I'm gonna try to hit some go get some ice cream right now. Monday at 9 a.m. Yeah, we'll be there. Thank you, Neil, who just sent another $10 in the super chat. We got a super chat. Thank you so much. I'm sorry we were having some audio issues. I heard it. I should have probably stopped it right then. Some people said they didn't hear it, so I let it go. And then I started getting more and more comments at the end. I saw people were having issues with the audio. I'm sorry about that. I should have just listened to myself. It's good. I just learned something tonight. Go with your gut. I want to thank everyone though that has been watching, commenting, especially the comments and the viewers. I thank you so much. Huge to see, we go up and we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 sometimes listening. It's unbelievable. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your weekend.